of rice. The government wants to give an enabling environment to rice producers by providing more power tillers. This project that is very ambitious is expected to swallow about 385 billion franc saving. 298 billion will be for irrigated rice and the rest will be for other accompanying services. According to the National Institute of Statistics, Cameroon imports about 652,565 tons of rice every year, and the government spends, or the economy spends 162.5 billion francs saving. The rice sector represents 4.6% of our imports. Now, if this project were to go through, then the dream of Cameroon becoming an emerging economy by 2035 will be real.
I will still talk this time. We'll take you to her to say that medics in Cameroon are joining their peers worldwide to observe the International Day to End Obstetric Fistula under the theme 20 years known progress but not enough act now to end fistula by 2023. The drive to transform the life of vulnerable women and girls by medics will be emphasized today as new form of surgery, repairs, hospital treatment and prevention will be transformed. And for this morning and for this afternoon, for our afternoon newscast, reporters caught up with Dr. Paul Chepte, who enlightens us on what obstetric fistula is all about.
So obstetric fistula is an abnormal and newly formed communication that exists between the genital tract, most especially the vagina, and parts of the urinary tract like the urethra, the bladder, or the ureter. So the ureter is the structure that connects the kidney, which produces urine, and the bladder. The bladder is the organ that stores temporarily the urine before urination, and the urethra is the organ that connects this bladder and the outside. So we can have a communication between the vagina and the ureter, the bladder, or the urethra. We can also have a communication between the vagina and parts of the intestines or the guts, most especially the rectum, and the rectum is the part just before the anus. It's also important to indicate that this abnormal and newly formed communication arises as a result of childbirth. So the term obstetrics here refers to childbirth, while the term fistula here refers to communication.
Dr. Paul Chepte went further to highlight the effects of this disease.
There are no definite causes for the formation of this communication, but we rather have risk factors. That is, factors if one is exposed to increases the chances for the one contracting this abnormal communication. So the number one risk factor for such an abnormal communication is difficult delivery or difficult labor. Some other factors can be present, such as poor medical care, teenage pregnancy, malnutrition. So concerning the effects of this fistula, the effects are both physical, that is the signs and symptoms, but there are also social and psychological. So concerning the physical or signs and symptoms of this fistula, we have everything. We have signs and symptoms which are as a result of the fact that there is an abnormal communication. So most especially we have incontinence. Incontinence, be it urinary incontinence or fecal incontinence. Incontinence refers to the fact that someone is unable to willingly control the flow of either urine or feces. So there can be urinary incontinence, there can be fecal incontinence, but we can have some other symptoms like frequent urinary tract infection, foul smelling, vaginal discharges.
We stay in health to say medical personnel in Yaoundé have gone on streets after a non-payment of their salary, obtaining the views from Cameroonians. Ivan William Jobati seek to find out their stand in the strike action that is being witnessed in the medical section.
Showing their melancholy after several promises which were not respected for some years now, the strike activists have gathered at the Ministry of Public Health with different messages written on their armboard. Witnessing the scene, some of these Cameroonians along the neighborhood reacted to the move of the medical health personnel.
It is very unfair that people provide and sacrifice for our health and the government refuses to pay them.
It's a good idea for that people to revendicate it.
I was just praying for change, I was just praying that things change.
Insisting the government look into their grievances of non-payment of salaries, many of these eyewitnesses fear that it might cause havoc, especially as the country has been faced with several diseases outbreaks as such could lead to death.
They say that when you work, you must have your pay. So it's natural to government to give them their money.
They provide us with good health, right? And if they stop to provide for our health, we will die. Yeah, so I think the strike is good and the government should look into it very fast before people start dying.
As of now, the Minister of Public Health, Madaura Malashi, is representing the head of state in an international health assembly in Geneva. But one of these patriotic Cameroonians believes he can still act with just a phone call, as he exclaims.
Even if he's not in the country, he's supposed to look into it. Because with the cholera outbreak, if care is not taken in due time, the number of cases will increase drastically and it's going to affect us. So even if he's not in the country, there are procedures he can take right from out of the country to make sure this strike stops immediately.
The activists on their part have vowed to continue with the strike action daily until their problems are being solved.
I will talk to you to talk environment in this edition to say a 5-day workshop with magistrates and forestry administrators on the importance of fighting against illegal lodging in Cameroon is ongoing in Yaoundé. The workshop is aimed at empowering magistrates and forestry administrators on the danger of illegal logging to Cameroon and the legal implication of this device. Presiding over the opening ceremony, the minister delegate at the Ministry of Justice, Jean de Dieu Momo, says,
I will first of all like to express my gratitude to the African Alliance for Development Action and the United States government for this laudable initiative to train magistrates and forestry staff on combating illegal deforestation. In Cameroon, which is often referred to as Africa in miniature, because of its ecological and cultural diversity, deforestation was relatively low until recent years. Now, deforestation is taking place at a rapid pace, including illegal logging of timber.
Raphael Ayuk is the chairman of the African Alliance for Development Action. Talking to the press, he says that the workshop is aimed at protecting the Cameroon forest, whose exploitation has led to climate change.
Just an interaction, to have a conversation and look at if they can come up with something or there are some issues that they can recommend. Just a conversation. As an investigator in the forestry sector, we have seen a lot of issues that are going on in terms of especially transboundary illegal deforestation. And when you're dealing with issue of transboundary, it's no longer a national issue. It's very complex. For example, between Cameroon and Nigeria, a lot of our resources are being taken away. With Nigeria that have lost 75% of their forests, they solely depend. You can imagine the population of 200 and something million people depending on our forests. It's a big problem, and it has its own ramification.
We'll take you out of the country to tell you that a Ghanaian peacekeeper serving in the disputed South Sudan border region of the Abyss has won the UN Award of Championing the Rights of Women. Captain Cecilia Ezo, 32, will receive the 2022 UN Military Gender Advocates of the Year Award from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Thursday. Still out of the country, more airstrike and clashes have been reported in Sudan, depending hopes for the latest attempt at a ceasefire in the conflict-hit country. A new 7-day truce officials began at 21 hours 45 seconds local time, but witnesses have already spoken of further hostility in the capital Khartoum and elsewhere. The violence began 5 weeks ago, triggered by a past struggle between the leaders of the regular army and the paramilitary faction. We still take you out of the country this time to talk about we still take you out of the country to say more than 100 others in South Africa, where health officials in South Africa has confirmed that cholera outbreak has killed at least 15 people. More than 100 others have shown symptoms including diarrhea and vomiting after drinking contaminated water in the northern capital of Pretoria. Officials have urged people to stop drinking tap water in that country. Frustrated residents chased away the regional mayor when he attempted to visit a hospital where victims are being treated. Last month, the emergency service in Johannesburg urged people to avoid performing traditional and baptismal rituals in rivers and streams following another cholera outbreak in that part of the country. South African health experts have raised concern about further infection in areas with poor sanitation and sewage running through the street. We come back to talk sport. And in sport, we begin in rugby to say the indomitable rugby Lionesses of Cameroon are heightening with preparation ahead of their second day match of the Rugby African Women Cup against Madagascar this Wednesday, May the 24th, 2023, after being slammed by the Patriots of South Africa by 87 points to 0 in their day one match in Antananarivo, the capital of Madagascar. Cameroon is, however, grouped alongside Kenya, Madagascar, and South Africa. On to futsal to say over a dozen of futsal players and staff from the 10 regions of Cameroon have turned out in Yaoundé to mark this year's edition of the National Futsal Championship a reality. The first day of the competitions were being played under the chairmanship of the National Futsal Commissioner, President Fojo Norbert, who received the green light of Fecafoot Bossa trophies for the organization of the tournament, which run till Thursday at the Fandena Gymnasium here in Yaoundé. In the following excerpt, the focal point of futsal in the central region gives an overall explanation of the game. This is Sandy Lucas. Take a listen to what he has to say.
It's the second time that the federation organized a competition like that, but the competition of this year is very enthusiastic. It's very disputed. We have many clubs than the previous edition. Our wish is to see young Cameroonians develop themselves in the practice of futsal, because futsal is previous for football.
All the 10 clubs answer present?
Yes.
Both in the female and...
Yes. For the female, we have 5 clubs, but for men, we have 10.
Are we preparing for an international tournament?
Yes, I think we have a competition held in Cameroon in November. It is a competition that concerns the under 17. Yes, under 17, 15, 16, and 17. An international competition.
We'll take you to talk football. This time women football to say the 18 matches have been programmed for this Tuesday. We have IS Fortuna girls that will take on with Kaima girls. That match will take place at the next stadium number 1 of the Amado Aijo. Leke girls at 3 p.m. will battle it out with IS Awa, still at the same venue at the Amado Aijo Stadium next. We have Authentic Ladies that will equally battle it out with Ekla girls of Sa. That match will be in Douala at the Japuma next stadium number 2. While the Guinness Classico match will take place between Eden Girls of the Leke and Amazon Fab at 2 p.m. at the start at the military stadium here in Yaoundé. The next match between Lugmin Proof and Ganje FA will take place on the 6th of June. That match is going to be the last match concerning that. But anyway, still in football to say that FIFA got